So with the pre-patch of Midnight, there's actually a way to make some really good gold that is pretty time limited, because once Midnight is actually released, this gold making method won't be making you a ton of gold anymore. Now, outside of making gold, if you just want to farm these transmog sets that are transmog sets from Midnight, you can also just use this method to do that yourself. But if you're looking to make some gold, you have less than a month now to really use this method. Now let's first take a look at what items we're actually going to be farming and the transmog sets that they give you. Now you are going to be farming gray items, and these are obtainable from a few pieces of the pre-patch content, and this has been a thing for quite a long time. Most modern WoW expansions, you are able to go get gray items from the next expansion in the pre-patch, but this pre-patch is actually quite a bit different because you can't really farm these anywhere except one area, and there's a very specific way you have to farm them. So first off, if you want to look at all the sets you can get, you're just going to go to your collections, go to appearances, go to sets, and then you're going to go look for the outdoor sets for Midnight. And they sit right under the Light Strider set, which is one of the pre-order sets for Midnight. And there's going to be 4 different sets, one for each armor type. Now there's a bunch of different recolors of these sets. So rare monsters give a recolor, crafted give a recolor, quest rewards, world drops get a recolor, which is actually the color we're going to be farming, and then epic crafted also give a color. And from what I've seen, I actually like the world drop recolor the best. The epic crafted ones are also pretty cool, but the world drop set is actually the darkest set. So it's usually like a darker goldish bronze with like blacks and some red. Now this is the plate one. This is my favorite one out of all of these, but then we also have the cloth one that is also really cool as well. Now the reason this farm is going to make you a ton of gold once Midnight is out is because you not only can get these appearances from gray items, but you can also get it from just world drop greens. Now greens at the start of expansions are usually somewhat expensive as well, but that's primarily for like disenchanting and things like that. Pretty early on, you'll be able to just buy a full set of greens for not a super high price, and it'll give you the same appearance. Or just grays. Grays probably won't be too expensive once Midnight is actually launched as well. But a lot of people want the sets right now, and these ones are actually decently hard or weird to go farm. So this is the plate one. Then if you just want to check other ones, you go to different classes that wear different types of armor. So we can go to Hunter for male, and this is going to be the male set. Again, it shares a lot of the same colors, and this one definitely has a brighter gold color with a bit brighter red, but still the dark blacks, which is why I think a lot of people like these sets specifically. Then we can go over a look at leather. The leather one, again, is the gold with the brighter red and the darker blacks. This one has a lot more red on it, but again, this darker black isn't super common, especially with this look and especially with a modern set that has the higher graphical quality. Then we also have the cloth set, which is my second favorite. This one just looks really cool, again with the gold. This one has like a little bit of gray silver on it, but overall the black is just so good mixed with that gold. Also has a really cool belt on this one. So all 4 of these sets are pretty good and are definitely selling for quite a lot of gold right now. But that brings us to how to actually farm these items, because in most pre-patches, there would just be mobs everywhere to go farm and they could all drop grays, but that's not really the case with this pre-patch. The main way most people will have been obtaining these is just running around and killing all the rares. So at the normal rare locations, and rares spawn every 5 minutes, you'll have to kill all the enemies and fill up the percentage bar. Once it's filled, all of those enemies will despawn, and then there'll be the 3 elites that you'll be able to kill that we're channeling the ritual. Those 3 elites you kill will all be able to drop grays. They don't do it super frequently, but they can. And then the rare itself can also drop gray items, but those aren't super common, and you can't just like infinitely farm those. They only spawn every 5 minutes. So pretty much every 5 minutes, you have 4 different chances at gray items. But there is another location that allows you to farm this almost infinitely, but it's very weird in how you can actually get grays from these enemies. So right next to Grimbatol on the map, there is a open area that sometimes will have a pre-patch world quest here, where there's a bunch of these enemies in the area and they're essentially channeling a ritual. And once you're done with that world quest, all of the ritual they were doing disappears and it's only the enemies left there. So no matter if you have the world quest or not, the enemies will still all always be there. And there's a good chunk of enemies here, and while they have a really long respawn timer if you want all of them to be respawn, they do have hyper spawning. Means if you kill enough of them, other ones will instantly respawn, but if you want all of them to spawn and be there at once without killing anything, they do have quite a long respawn timer. But with hyper spawning, you can farm these pretty easily. But you can't just sit here and farm these enemies for grays because they won't actually drop them after the first time you kill every enemy here. And it's really weird, and I've done a bunch of testing to see how this actually works. To the best of my knowledge, through a few hours of testing, how this is actually working is once you go here and kill every single one of the enemies that has a spawn here, the first time they can drop grays. After that, it seems that there's like a 5-minute timer or somewhere close to that to where you can't get grays from them anymore. And that is seeming to be the best way I could explain it and the best way to go about farming this. I'm not sure if it's exactly 5 minutes, but it seems to be somewhere in that realm of like 4 to 5 minutes. But this also seems to be per character, and you don't even need to be playing characters on other realms. Now, if you have a bunch of characters on different realms, it's actually better to farm on those because you can go on one character from one realm, go clear out all the enemies very quickly, and you'll know you killed all the enemies because they'll all be spawned there. Then you log on that other character from a different realm and all of the enemies will be there, or there's a better chance for them to all be there, instead of you going there on a bunch of characters on the same server to where you'll have to go through and kill enemies to hyperspawn some other enemies and then redo that until you've killed all the enemies at least once for that character. Because if you just keep farming them, they will just keep dropping the random amount of raw gold, but they'll drop nothing else at all. And in fact, it seems you can't even just keep killing enemies on one character, because I was here before for like an hour farming on one character, and after that first time I killed all of the enemies here, I didn't get a single other gray since then. But if you do this method of just killing all the enemies once, going on a different character, killing them all once, going on a different character, and then in 4 to 5 minutes go back on that first character, this seems to be the absolute best way to just farm these grays from these enemies here. And you can't even really do this anywhere else on the map to my knowledge, because almost everywhere else in the Twilight Highlands that isn't an area that has a rare currently at it just has normal enemies from the original Twilight Highlands. They're just leveled up. So if you've gone and done a bunch of the world quests, you'll notice you're getting like cloth from Cataclysm, and that's because pretty much nowhere else has enemies that are specific to this event, so they're considered midnight enemies. Now, I think the best way to go about farming these grays is to just bring as many of your characters to this location as you possibly can. Even if they're on the same realm, you just got to learn the locations of these enemies, so you'll learn once you've killed them all through hyper spawning. But that's pretty much all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.